In the heart of Willowbrook Estates, a sprawling suburb where manicured lawns stretched like green carpets under the relentless Georgia sun, Marcus Hale embodied a quiet rebellion against the cookie-cutter perfection that defined the neighborhood. At 48, Marcus was a mountain of a man, 6'4" with a broad frame that carried the weight of 2 decades of high-stakes decisions and the softer indulgences of civilian life. His dark skin gleamed with a perpetual sheen of sweat from the humidity, and his belly strained against the faded fabric of his old Clemson Tigers t-shirt, a remnant from his college days before the world had reshaped him into something far more formidable. To the casual observer, Marcus was just another dad, the one who grilled ribs on Sundays with a laugh that rumbled like distant thunder, who coached his son's Little League team with endless patience, and who fixed leaky faucets for neighbors without asking for a dime. But beneath the layers of fatherly warmth and the extra pounds earned from late-night strategy sessions, turned family movie marathons, Marcus Hale was a ghost from America's shadow wars, a retired Delta Force operator whose hands had dismantled terror cells in the scorched sands of the Middle East, whose mind mapped threats like a chess grandmaster plotting checkmate. His home on Elmwood Lane was a modest 2-story colonial, painted a cheerful sage green that clashed just enough with the beige monotony of the block to draw sideways glances. Inside, the air smelled of Elena's jasmine-scented candles and the faint, comforting tang of fresh-baked cornbread cooling on the windowsill. Elena Hale, Marcus's wife of 22 years, was the steady pulse of their world, a high school history teacher with caramel skin, sharp cheekbones and eyes that could pierce through teenage excuses or marital silences alike. She moved through life with the grace of someone who'd grown up in Chicago's South Side, where resilience wasn't a choice but a survival skill. Their daughter, Aaliyah, 16 and fiercely intelligent, was a junior at Willowbrook High, her locks tied back as she pored over AP calculus textbooks, dreaming of engineering scholarships that would take her to MIT. And then there was Jamal, 12, all gangly limbs and boundless energy, whose obsession with robotics had turned their garage into a makeshift lab of wires, circuit boards, and half-built drones that buzzed erratically when powered on. It was a Thursday in late spring, the kind of day where azaleas bloomed in defiant pinks and whites along the curbs, mocking the creeping unease that had begun to settle over Elmwood Lane like morning fog. Marcus was in the backyard, knee-deep in what he called his sanctuary project, a raised garden bed he'd built from reclaimed cedar planks, now bursting with heirloom tomatoes, collard greens, and okra pods that evoked the Carolina farms of his grandmother's stories. Sweat trickled down his temples as he knelt to tie up a sagging vine, his massive hands surprisingly deft, calloused from years of gripping rifles in zero-visibility ops, but now coaxing life from soil. The work grounded him, a ritual that pulled him back from the echoes of explosions and whispered intel drops that sometimes haunted his dreams. "You're too soft for this heat, old man," he muttered to himself with a chuckle, wiping his brow on his sleeve. But even in the peace of the garden, Marcus's senses never fully disengaged. It was a Delta habit: scan perimeters, note anomalies, trust the gut that had saved his squad more times than he could count. From the kitchen window, Elena watched him, her knife pausing mid-chop on a pile of bell peppers for dinner. She loved this view. Her husband, unarmored and human, coaxing green shoots from dirt like he was rewriting their family's story one root at a time. But lately, the neighborhood had felt off. Whispers at the PTA meetings about standards slipping, sidelong looks when Aaliyah's laughter carried too loud during block parties, and that one email from the HOA board about aesthetic uniformity that seemed aimed squarely at their garden. Elena shook it off. Willowbrook was supposed to be their fresh start after Marcus's retirement 5 years ago, a place to build roots away from the nomadic life of bases and deployments. Yet the undercurrent of judgment lingered, a subtle racism wrapped in bylaws and polite smiles. Jamal burst through the back door then, his backpack slung low, eyes alight with the chaos of middle school. "Dad, check this out. I got the drone to hover for a full minute without crashing." He held up a palm-sized contraption, its propellers whirring faintly as he demonstrated. Marcus rose slowly, his knees protesting the extra weight he carried, and clapped a hand on his son's shoulder. "That's my engineer. Show me the code later. We'll tweak the stabilization." Jamal beamed, vanishing back inside to raid the fridge. Aaliyah followed shortly after, her earbuds in, nodding vaguely at her father's wave. The normalcy of it all, these small orbits of family, was what Marcus fought to protect. What had pulled him from the brink of re-enlistment after his last tour in Syria, where he'd orchestrated the takedown of an ISIS financing ring that spanned 3 continents. The first crack in the afternoon's tranquility came with the low growl of an engine, unfamiliar and deliberate, pulling into the cul-de-sac at the end of Elmwood Lane. Marcus straightened, his trowel still in hand as a black Chevy Tahoe eased to a stop at the curb. 3 men emerged, their movements synchronized in a way that screamed rehearsal rather than routine. They wore crisp navy polos embroidered with a gold eagle emblem. Willowbrook Enforcement Services, tucked into khakis, with tactical vests slung over like afterthoughts, pouches bulging with what looked like zip ties, flashlights and laminated IDs dangling from lanyards. The leader, a wiry white guy in his late 30s with a buzz cut and a jaw like a hatchet, scanned the yard with the predatory focus of someone who'd practiced this entrance in a mirror. His companions flanked him, one stocky with a mustache that curled like a question mark, the other lanky and fidgety, his eyes darting like he was counting escape routes. "Mr. Hale?" Buzzcut called, his voice pitched just loud enough to carry without shouting, laced with that false bonhomie Marcus recognized from too many interrogations gone sideways. He stepped over the low garden fence with casual entitlement, his boots crunching the mulch. Marcus set the trowel down deliberately, rising to his full height, which cast a shadow that swallowed the intruder whole. Up close, the men's badges were suspect. The laminate bubbled at the edges, the eagle seal a pixelated knockoff from some online template shop. No CMPD insignia, no state certification. Props, Marcus thought, filing it away. In his Delta days, spotting a suicide vest under civilian clothes had saved lives. Here it was spotting frauds playing dress-up to wield power they didn't earn. "Yeah?" Marcus replied, his baritone steady, wiping soil from his hands on his jeans. He didn't move to close the distance, letting them come to him. Classic terrain advantage. Elena appeared at the back door, arms crossed, her teacher's stance radiating quiet authority. Jamal peeked from behind her, curiosity overriding caution. "We're from Willowbrook Enforcement," Buzzcut continued, flipping open a folder with printed photos of Marcus's garden, timestamps glaring in red. "We've had multiple complaints about this setup. It's non-compliant with Section 4.2 of the Covenants. Unapproved landscaping, potential allergen hazards, and it's, well, not in keeping with the community's aesthetic." His mustache buddy snorted softly, and Fidgety shifted, glancing at the house as if casing it. Marcus tilted his head, his dark eyes unblinking. "Allergen hazards?" From Okra, he let a small smile play at his lips, but it didn't reach his eyes. In the field, humor disarmed more than bullets sometimes. "Last I checked, the HOA approved this plot last summer. Got the email right here if you want to see." He patted his pocket, where his phone held the digital trail, always document. His old CO had drilled into him. Buzzcut's smile tightened, a flicker of irritation breaking the facade. "Approvals can be revisited, Mr. Hale, especially with resident concerns. Folks pay good money for this neighborhood's look. That garden? It's an eyesore. Draws pests, lowers property values." The words hung heavy, laced with the unspoken "your garden. Your kind of eyesore." Marcus caught it. The microaggression, the way Mustache's gaze lingered on the Hale family photos visible through the screen door. Aaliyah's science fair ribbon framed prominently. Elena stepped forward now, her voice a blade wrapped in silk. "And who exactly is complaining? Because if it's about pests, maybe point them to the real infestation. Fake cops harassing families on their own property." She eyed their vests, the cheap Velcro patches peeling at the corners. Fidgety's hand twitched toward his pouch, but Buzzcut waved him off with a chuckle that didn't land. "Ma'am, this is official business. We're here to ensure compliance. Move the plants or we'll have to issue a lien. First one's a warning. Next steps get expensive." He leaned in, voice dropping conspiratorially. "Wouldn't want to make this harder than it needs to be. For your family's sake." The air thickened, the Georgia humidity pressing like a warning. Marcus felt the old switch flip, not rage but clarity. These weren't amateurs. The folder's photos showed timestamps from different angles, suggesting surveillance. They'd cased the house, noted routines, Elena's errands, kids' bus stops, his garden time. Patterns, he thought. Exploit patterns. In Delta, he'd broken terror networks by mapping the mundane. Prayer times, market runs, until the mundane became the noose. "Appreciate the heads up." Marcus said evenly, stepping just close enough to loom without touching. At 6'4" and 280 pounds, his presence was a gravitational pull. But next time, bring real badges. Those look like they came from a Halloween store. He nodded at the lanyards, the eagle's wing smudged from wear. Mustache bristled, hand flexing. Watch your tone, big guy. We don't take kindly to threats, Elena interjected, phone already in hand, dialing. Because that's what this sounds like. I'm calling the actual police. Buzzcut's eyes narrowed, assessing. He held up a placating hand. No need for that. We're just doing our job. But the hesitation was there, the crack in the armor. They retreated to the Tahoe in sync, Buzzcut shooting one last glare over the roof. You'll hear from us soon, Hale. Fix it. The engine roared to life, tires crunching gravel as they peeled out, leaving a swirl of dust that settled like ash. Marcus exhaled slowly. The garden's peace shattered. Elena pocketed her phone, though she hadn't hit send. What the hell was that, Marcus? HOA doesn't send goon squads. Not HOA, he murmured, scanning the street. Curtains twitched in the Craftsman across the way. Mrs. Hargrove, the block's unofficial gossip hub, peering through lace. Down the lane, Mr. Patel paused mid-watering his roses, hose dripping forgotten, eyes everywhere but no voices. Organized intimidation, testing boundaries. Jamal emerged fully now, drone clutched like a shield. Dad, they were mean, like those kids at school who mess with my builds. His voice wobbled, the bravado cracking. Marcus knelt to his level, hand gentle on the boy's shoulder. Mean people test to see if you'll fold, champ. We don't fold. We build stronger. He ruffled Jamal's hair, but inside the calculus ran. Threat level low, but escalating. Motive? The garden was a pretext. The real target was displacement. Willowbrook had concerns about diversity quotas, whispers of a developers group buying up lots for flips. Black families like theirs were easy marks. Scare them out. Sell high to the right buyers. Alia joined them, arms crossed like her mother's. This is bullshit, Dad. Why us? We keep to ourselves. Her eyes, so like Elena's, burned with the injustice of it all. Because standing out scares them, Marcus said softly, rising. But we're hail strong. Dinner in 10. Jamal, set the table. Aaliyah, help your mom. He watched them file inside, the back door slapping shut, before turning to the garden. With deliberate care, he harvested a ripe tomato, its skin taut and red, a symbol of persistence. But as he straightened, his gaze caught the Tahoe's taillights vanishing at the intersection, a shark slipping back into deeper water. That evening, the Hale kitchen hummed with forced normalcy. Elena's cornbread steamed golden on a wire rack, paired with smothered pork chops and greens simmered in smoked turkey. The table was a battlefield of placemats and elbows, laughter bubbling as Jamal recounted his drone triumph, complete with wild gestures that nearly toppled the salt shaker. Aaliyah rolled her eyes but contributed a story about her calculus teacher mistaking pie for pie, drawing chuckles from Elena. Marcus anchored it all, his deep laugh punctuating the rhythm, but his mind dissected the encounter like a briefing. Buzzcut's tell, a slight tremor in his left hand, nerves under the bluster. Mustache's aggressive posture compensating for height. Fidgety scans, the lookout. They'd return, bolder. As plates cleared, Elena cornered him at the sink, suds bubbling between them. Talk to me, Marcus. That wasn't just a shakedown. I saw how you looked at them, like you were sizing up a kill zone. He dried a plate, the cloth whispering against ceramic. Old habits, but yeah, it's coordinated. I've seen it in ops. Low-level enforcers softening targets for the big play. Could be land grabs. Could be worse. His voice dropped. They mentioned for your family's sake. That's personal. Elena's hand stilled on a glass. And you're not telling me to call it in because real cops might dismiss it as HOA drama. I need proof first. Patterns. He set the plate down, turning to her. At 5'8", she had to tilt up to meet his eyes, but her gaze held no deference. I left Delta to keep this safe, Elena. Not to drag it back in. She cupped his cheek, thumb tracing the scar from a shrapnel graze in Fallujah hidden under his beard. You think I don't know? But this is home, not a hot zone. Promise me. No going lone wolf. Promise. He lied softly. The truth was, dismantling networks was his language. Terror cells or suburban thugs. The blueprint was the same. Observe, infiltrate, collapse. Upstairs, bedtime rituals unfolded. Marcus tucked Jamal in. The boys' room a constellation of LED-lit gadgets, posters of Elon Musk and Neil deGrasse Tyson beaming down. Dad, what if they come back? With more guys, Jamal whispered, clutching his drone remote. Then we outsmart 'em, Marcus said, sitting on the bed's edge, the frame groaning under him. Remember that robotics club motto? Innovate or evaporate. Same applies, they push, we pivot. He demonstrated with a gentle nudge, rolling Jamal's shoulder like a gear turning. The boy giggled, tension easing, and soon snores filled the room. Aaliyah's door was ajar. She sat cross-legged on her bed, laptop glowing with college brochures. Marcus leaned in the frame. Heavy thoughts? She glanced up, vulnerability cracking her armor. It's not fair. We worked hard for this house. Your pension, Mom's savings. And now these clowns think they can just erase us? Tears welled, but she blinked them back. Marcus crossed the room, the floorboards creaking, and sat beside her. His arm engulfed her shoulders in a hug. Fair's a myth, baby girl. Life's a gauntlet. But Hales? We run through it, not around. Remember Abuela's stories? Escaped the Jim Crow South with nothing but grit and God. That's us. He tapped her temple. Your brain's your weapon. Use it. She leaned into him, the weight of his solidity a balm. You're not scared, are you, Dad? Scared's fuel, he admitted. Keeps the engine running. He kissed her forehead, lingering. In Delta, fear was the enemy. Here it was the spark for protection. Downstairs, Elena waited with chamomile tea steaming on the coffee table. The living room was their sanctuary, plush sectional scarred from Jamal's wrestling matches, bookshelves, groaning with Elena's histories and Marcus's dog-eared Tom Clancy novels. They sank into the cushions, her head on his chest, his heartbeat a steady drum. They're not stopping, she murmured, tracing his shirt buttons. I saw Hargrove watching, whole blocks complicit. Silence is strategy, Marcus replied. They're waiting to see if we crack. We won't. But as he spoke, his phone buzzed. A text from an old squad mate, now a PI in Atlanta. Heard you're domesticated. Need backup? Marcus typed back, not yet. But eyes open. Outside, Elmwood Lane slept under a canopy of oaks, streetlights casting pools of amber. But Marcus knew sleep was fleeting. The Tahoe's shadow loomed, a prelude to storms. Little did the enforcers know the man they targeted, the fat black dad with dirt under his nails, was a commander who'd stared down warlords and walked away unbroken. And as crickets chorused into the night, Marcus Hale began to weave his counter-narrative, one calculated step at a time. The garden would stand, so would his family. But the real planting of evidence, alliances, and unyielding resolve had only just begun. The days following the backyard intrusion blurred into a tense facsimile of routine on Elmwood Lane, where the air hummed with unspoken alliances, and the creak of floorboards betrayed more than settling houses. Marcus Hale moved through his mornings like a sentinel in mufti, coffee black as midnight, eyes scanning the rear view as he dropped Jamal at school, noting the same blue sedan idling at the stoplight 3 blocks over, twice in 1 week, plate ending in 729. By mid-morning, he'd be at the local VFW hall, volunteering as a mentor for vets transitioning to civilian gigs, his bulk filling the doorway as he shared stories of resilience stripped of classified grit. Adapt or atrophy, he'd say, clapping a young Marine's shoulder, the words a mantra for himself as much as them. Afternoons blurred into Elena's school pickups, Aaliyah's debate club debates dissected over drive-through tacos, and evenings where Jamal's drone tests lit the garage like fireflies on steroids. But beneath the surface rhythm, Marcus orchestrated a quiet reconnaissance. He dusted off his old field notebook, its leather cover scarred from Syrian dust storms. filling pages with meticulous sketches. Tahoe's undercarriage vulnerabilities from a curbside glance. Buzzcut's habitual left side lean suggesting a concealed carry holster, empty, from the lack of print. Fidgety's nervous tick of thumb rubbing when cornered. No violence in his plans. Delta had taught him that precision trumped brute force, but exposure. He installed discreet trail cams in the oaks bordering their lot. Motion-activated feeds piping to a burner app on his phone. Paranoia pays dividends, he told Elena over breakfast on the third day, as footage captured the Tahoe circling at dusk, slowing opposite the Patel's mailbox. Elena's response was a raised eyebrow over her yogurt. Or it turns our home into a bunker. Marcus, the kids notice. And they did. Aaliyah's questions sharpened at dinner, probing like her debate crosses. Dad, why'd you park facing the street last night? Easier getaway? Jamal, mimicking, had rigged his drone with a tiny flashlight. For night patrols. Elena's history teacher mind mapped it to broader strokes. This isn't just us. Hargrove's been dodging my waves, and Patel mentioned visits last month, over their Diwali lights. The neighborhood's silence wasn't apathy. It was a fragile dam holding back a flood of complicity. Willowbrook Estates, built on the promise of upward mobility for Atlanta's exurbs, harbored undercurrents of exclusion. Whispers at the community pool about preserving value, masked fears of change. Black families like the Hales, Latino ones like the Patels, queer couples in rainbow flags fluttering from porches. The HOA, a toothless board of retirees, deferred to enforcement contractors. But Marcus's late-night scrolls through county records, via the VFW's clunky desktop, revealed no such entity. Willowbrook Enforcement Services, a ghost LLC registered to a P.O. Box in Decatur, owner obscured by shell companies. Patterns emerged, 5 similar complaints in the last year, all minority-owned homes, all ending in voluntary relistings. On Friday, the dam cracked slightly. Marcus was pressure washing the siding, a mundane chore to signal normalcy, when Don Hargrove shuffled over from across the street, his retiree paunch straining a polo, terrier yapping at his heels. Hargrove, a former bank manager with a mustache like a broom bristle, cleared his throat. Hale, about those fellas? He glanced back at his house where lace curtains stilled. They hit the Patels, too. Lights, you know. Scared Maria half to death. Said they'd lie in the deed if not compliant. Marcus shut off the washer, water droplets beating on his arms like sweat from a ruck march. And nobody called it in? Hargrove shrugged, avoiding those dark eyes. HOA vouches for him. Cops? Waste of time without bruises. Look, you're newish here. 5 years? But these types, they lean. Make life hell till you list. Patels are packing. Rumor is you're next. His voice dropped to a whisper. Heard it's developers. Want the block uniform for flips. Your garden? Perfect excuse. Gratitude warred with disgust in Marcus's chest. Appreciate the intel, Don. But leaning back's an option. He clapped Hargrove's shoulder lightly, enough to jolt without bruising. Stand with us, or at least don't look away. Hargrove nodded jerkily, retreating with his dog. That night, Marcus shared the tip with Elena in their ensuite, steam from the shower curling like secrets. Developers. Classic gentrification play. Intimidate, displace, profit. She toweled her hair, fierce. So we fight legal? Sue the HOA? Legal's slow. They're ghosts. He pulled her close, his warmth enveloping. I go quiet. Infiltrate their pattern, her eyes flashed. No, Marcus. That's the old you, shadows and strikes. Here we shine light. Call your PI buddy, he conceded, texting the Atlanta contact. Dig on WES LLC, cross-reference displacements. Reply on it. Old times. Evolved. Saturday dawned muggy, the air thick with promise of rain. The Hales loaded into their SUV for a family hike at Stone Mountain, Elena's idea to reclaim joy from the creeping dread. Aaliyah blasted R&B from her phone. Jamal quizzed Marcus on drone aerodynamics. Elena's hand intertwined with his over the console. At the summit, granite vast under blue sky, Marcus felt the weight lift momentarily. See that view? He said, arm around Elena. That's us, unmovable. But descending, his phone pinged. PI footage of the Tahoe at a Decatur warehouse, unloading gear with a fourth man, tattooed, exuding cartel vibes. Back home unpacking, the Tahoe prowled again. This time they didn't stop. Cruised slow, buzz cut at the wheel, mustache filming from the passenger window. Marcus waved cheerily from the porch, masking the chill. Inside family huddle. They're documenting, he explained. Building a case for nuisance eviction. Aaliyah's fists clenched. Eviction? This is our home. Jamal nodded, teary. I'll crash their car with my drone. Laughter broke tension, Elena hugging them. We adapt, Marcus. His resolve hardened. I visit the warehouse tomorrow. Observe only. She searched his face. Promise? Delta's honor. Sunday, Marcus drove to Decatur in a borrowed beater from the VFW lot. Unmarked, nondescript. The warehouse squatted in an industrial sprawl, chain link rattling in wind. From a coffee shop across the street he watched. Tahoe parked nose in. Buzzcut barking orders as mustache hauled boxes, fake badges, vests, perhaps tools for escalation. The tattooed newcomer smoked, scanning lots like a sentry. Marcus snapped photos, noting security cams, blind spots at northwest corner. Employee count 6, rotating shifts. No overt violence, but the vibe screamed coercion racket, extorting fines funneled to developers. En route home, PI called, West ties to Vanguard Properties, flipping crew. Buzzcut's Kyle Travers, ex-cop, bounced for brutality. They've displaced 8 families this year, all POC. Cops have files but no teeth. Civil matter. Marcus gripped the wheel. Teeth coming. That evening, storm broke. Literal rain lashing windows as hails gathered for board games. Jamal's monopoly empire crumbled to Aaliyah's hotel tycoon, Elena's laughter pealing. But Marcus's mind raced. Infiltrate via Hargrove's tip? Bait with compliance? The game's banker role mirrored his calculus. Assets, liabilities, endgame. Bedtime brought confessions. Jamal, Dad, I built the alarm drone. It'll buzz him away. Marcus grinned. Genius. Test it tomorrow. Aaliyah. Researched tenant rights a week in countersue. Pride swelled. Elena later. You're glowing. The fight suits you. Not the fight, he whispered, holding her. The family. But as thunder rolled, Marcus knew escalation loomed. The enforcers, sensing resistance, would pivot to pressure points. Kids' school, Elena's job. Unaware their target was a commander who'd unraveled Al-Qaeda pipelines, they'd miscalculate. And in the willow-shadowed quiet, Marcus Hale plotted not destruction but deliverance. A story of ordinary heroes rising, unbreakable. By midweek, Elmwood Lane pulsed with the brittle energy of a wire pulled taut, ready to snap. Marcus Hale's reconnaissance had borne fruit. The PI's dossier painted Willowbrook enforcement as a syndicate in khakis. Funneling intimidation proceeds to Vanguard's coffers through consulting fees. Kyle Travers, buzzcut, led with a rap sheet of dismissed excessive force claims. Mustache Ray Vickers was a disgraced repo man. Fidgety. Lenny Voss, a hacker for hire with juvie hacks on his ledger. The tattooed shadow, Rico Salazar, Vanguard's muscle, linked to Atlanta's underbelly evictions. Marcus shared snippets with Elena over dawn coffee, her teacher's red pen circling connections like lesson plans. This is systemic, she said, fierce. Not just us. A purge. The Hales armored in unity. Aaliyah's legal research binder grew thick with bylaws and precedents. Jamal's guardian drone patrolled the yard, its whir a defiant hum. Marcus, ever the strategist, seeded doubt. Anonymous tips to the HOA board via a VPN, photos of the Tahoe's patrols emailed to Hargrove with a note. Your block next? Cracks formed. Patel waved hesitantly. Hargrove left a pie on the porch. Sorry, watching now. But the enforcers struck back Wednesday, targeting the heart. Elena. She pulled into the driveway after parent-teacher conferences, arms laden with graded essays. When the Tahoe blocked her path, crooked as a threat. Travers emerged alone first, smirking under street lamp glow. Mrs. Hale, a word on those standards. His voice dripped oil, eyes raking her like inventory. Elena froze, keys biting palm, but channeled Marcus's calm. Move the vehicle, Mr. Travers, or I will. She'd memorized the dossier. He chuckled, circling her car. Feisty. Your hubby's garden's just the start. Heard about your school? Nice gig. Shame if complaints followed you there. Disruptive home life or some such. The implication landed. Fabrications to principals, smears to colleagues. Rain slicked, Elena's pulse thundered, but she straightened. Blackmail now? Classy. Phone out, recording. Smile for the evidence. Travers lunged, not to grab, but to snatch, his hand grazing her wrist. Give it here, bitch. The crunch of gravel announced Marcus's arrival, his SUV materializing like a specter. He exploded from the cab, 280 pounds of controlled fury, closing the gap in 3 strides. No yell, just presence, a wall eclipsing Travers. Touch my wife again and you lose the hand. His voice was gravel low, delta-honed, eyes locking like targeting lasers. Travers recoiled, facade fracturing. Hail, this ain't over. Marcus positioned between them, shielding Elena without touch, his bulk a barrier. Voss and Vickers piled out but froze at the tableau. Marcus's stance, feet planted in a fighter's base, hands loose but ready. Rain plastered his shirt, outlining the delta scars hidden beneath. Elena slipped behind him, voice steady. Call it in, Jamal, drones up. From the upstairs window, the boy's device buzzed to life, red LED strobing like a siren. Travers sneered, masking fear. Big man thinks size scares us. We've got pull cops, judges. But his tremor betrayed him. Marcus leaned in, breath warm in the downpour. Pull? I've toppled networks that make your pull look like string. Walk away, Kyle, or I unravel you. The name drop hit like a gut punch. Travers paled, recognition flickering. Had he clocked Marcus's VFW plates? Vickers muttered, Boss, let's bounce, but Marcus's gaze shifted, pinning him. Ray, repo days over? Or still boosting cars for chump change? Bluff, but it landed, Vickers blanched. Voss fidgeted, thumb rubbing rampant. The Tahoe idled, wipers slapping rhythm. 10 seconds, Marcus intoned, counting mentally like a fuse. Travers broke first, snarling retreats. This ends bad for you, fat boy. They scrambled in, peeling out in a spray of puddle water. Elena sagged against Marcus, adrenaline crashing. How'd you know? Patterns. He circles post 5 when kids are home. He held her, rain mingling with tears. You okay? Shaken, but unbroken. Inside, kids swarmed. Jamal's drone footage crisp, Aaliyah already uploading to a cloud drive. Evidence gold, she crowed. That night, debrief in the living room, footage reviewed, statement scripted for a real 911 log, filed anonymously. Elena's wrist bruise photographed a legal talisman. Marcus's calm cracked privately with her. Seeing you cornered, pulled me back. Kandahar flashbacks, she traced his jaw. Use it. Channel. Don't drown. Their lovemaking was fierce, reaffirming. Bodies a testament to survival. Thursday brought ripples. Hargrove knocked, sheepish. Saw the show. Patels, too, filed a joint complaint. Alliance forged in whispers. Marcus's PI escalated. Salazar's got priors, assaults on tenants. DA's interested if you push. Push he did. Friday, baiting with a compliance meeting email to Wes's ghost address. CC'd to media contacts. Response. Tahoe at dawn, circling aggressively, Salazar visible in back, gesturing fists. Family fortified. Aaliyah's school counselor looped in, preempting smears. Jamal's drone fleet expanded. But Saturday, the pivot. A brick through the garage window, comply scrawled in marker. No prints, but Cam caught the Tahoe's shadow. Rage simmered in Marcus, but he exhaled it into action, calling his old CO, retired general now consulting. Need off-book's eyes. Civilian threat, terror playbook. Reply, on it, Commander. Ghost protocol. Elena confronted the fear head-on. Hosting a block potluck, unity night. Hesitant at first, neighbors trickled. Patels with samosas. Hargrove with beer, even Mrs. Ellis, the widow next door, with lemon bars. Stories spilled. Wes visit silenced fears. Marcus spoke last, unassuming. We're not targets. We're the line. Cross it. We push back. Applause rippled. Fragile but real. As dusk fell, Travers's Tahoe ghosted the edge but peeled when Hargrove's headlights flashed solidarity. Inside, Elena squeezed Marcus's hand. You're inspiring them, us. Not me. Them. But his chest swelled. Delta had been missions, this was legacy. Sunday Eve, climax brewed, PI alerted. WES meet at warehouse, Salazar rallying crew. Marcus prepped solo. Vest under flannel, civilian Kevlar-lined gift from CO. Recorder pinned, route mapped with evasion points. Recon only, he told Elena, kissing her fierce. Back by dawn, she nodded, eyes steel. Bring our peace. He slipped into night, the fat black dad vanishing into the commander, unseen, unstoppable. The enforcers, plotting their siege on the Hales, remained blind to the storm they'd unleashed. A man trained to dismantle empires, now defending his own. The warehouse in Decatur loomed like a concrete crypt under sodium lights, its chain-link throat swallowing shadows as Marcus Hale ghosted the perimeter. Midnight oil slicked the air, mingled with distant I-20 rumble, but his focus narrowed to Delta Sharp. Northwest blind spot exploited, a rusted panel yielding to gloved hands. Inside, the cavern echoed with Travers's rasp. Hale's pushing. Hit the wife harder. Kids at school next. Salazar, you handle the muscle. Laughter coarse as boxes of fines tallied, extorted thousands from displaced families. Marcus's phone, silenced, vibrated. CO's text. Backup inbound. Feds looped on priors. He crouched, recorder capturing gold, admissions, names, Vanguard ties. Heart steady, breaths measured, fear fuel, not fire. A Delta op in Mosul flashed, pinned in a souk, intel streaming as he called airstrikes. This? Child's play, stakes eternal, his family's sanctuary. Salazar's growl cut. That fat one's trouble. Word is military, we end it quick. Travers scoffed. Bluff. Suburbs soften him. Marcus smiled in dark. Suburbs honed him. Family the forge. Exfil smooth. Panel resealed. Dash to beater. Tires silent on blacktop. Dawn broke as he hit Elmwood. Elena's silhouette in window. Relief crashing as he entered. Got him, he whispered, playing snippets. Her arms enveloped. My warrior. By noon, pieces moved. Footage to DA via CO channels. Feds rating WES Dawn. Anonymous tip gold. Travers's crew scattered. Vickers nabbed at a motel, boss cracking under questioning. Vanguard's execs lawyered up. But Media Storm, Atlanta Journal-Constitution headline, Suburban Terror, Fake Cops Target Families, Sealed Cracks. Willowbrook awoke transformed. Hargrove rallied a petition. Patels hosted strategy sessions. Elena's school praised her advocacy. Aaliyah's essay on resilience won district honors. Jamal's drones, neighborhood watch tech buzzed at block parties. Marcus, debriefing with Elena on the porch swing, reflected, thought retirement meant peace. This redefined it, she nestled close. You dismantled their net. Now ours grows. Climax crested Tuesday. Travers, cornered in a sting, Marcus's bait email, surrendered at the Hale door. Cuffs by real badges, eyes on Marcus with dawning horror. Who the hell are you? Someone who protects his own. No gloat, just finality. Trials blurred. WES crumbled. Vanguard fined millions in settlements. Hale's anchored class action, funding community gardens across blocks. Marcus testified quietly, his bulk suit a quiet thunder, words weaving law from shadows. Inspiration bloomed. VFW talks on civilian commandos. Elena's curriculum on resistance. Aaliyah's TEDx on roots unshaken. Jamal's drone startup mentoring at-risk kids. Neighbors transformed. Diversity festivals. HOA reformed with teeth for equity. 1 year on, Marcus knelt in the expanded garden, vines triumphant, family orbiting. We didn't just survive, he told them, dirt-streaked grin. We thrived. Elena's kiss, kids' hugs, legacy etched. The fake cops had targeted a fat black man, blind to the commander within. But Marcus Hale proved, true power roots deep, unbreakable, inspiring waves. In Elmwood's Willows, a new story whispered, stand firm, rise together.